Hi everyone, and welcome back to a new mini series that I'm doing here on my channel, which is all about using the makeup that you own and trying to kind of spark a bit more joy with the makeup that you have instead of getting tempted to go and buy lots of new releases and then neglect your makeup collection. And with this series I'm focusing on eyeshadow palettes, and the star of today's video is going to be my ABH Norvina palette, which is primarily like a pink and purple pastel spring-like eyeshadow palette. Now I will be totally honest, pinks and purples aren't really my kind of eyeshadow colours. I like to wear a lot of like neutral sort of golds, oranges, browns types of shades, so actually the pinks and purples are the shades that I choose the least within this palette. So you're not going to be seeing a pink or purple eyeshadow look from me in today's video. I'm just going to focus on some of the more neutral shades, and with this palette you have a nice 50-50 split between your shimmer shades and your matte shades here as well. Beautiful selection of shades. Like I say, you can go for those pinks and purples, but you can go for a more neutral everyday type of eyeshadow look if you like. And I am panning this eyeshadow palette. I'm panning a couple of shades in here as part of my Pan in Every Eyeshadow Palette challenge, and I'm finding these shades a lot more difficult to pan than the Modern Renaissance shades, so this palette might last you a little bit longer than the Modern Renaissance one will. So I have done the rest of my makeup. I've got a little bit of lip gloss on, so I'm going to zoom you in and we will see what look I can create with this palette. As always, priming my eyelids with an eyeshadow primer. The one that I'm currently using is Matte Paint Pot in Painterly. And I'm going to set that with some of Base, which is a matte, really light cream shade. So before I carry on with this eyeshadow look, there are a couple of shades that I do want to swatch because I'm not sure whether I like a couple of shades in this palette, and the ones that I want to swatch are Volatile and Dazzling. So the bottom one there is Volatile. Yeah, I'm not going to use this shade because this is a dark sort of mauvey purple. I don't think that would be very flattering on me. And then Dazzling above it looks like a really, really pretty shade, but I think once it's on my eyes that will be too dark. It does have a bit of like orangey sort of brown shimmer within it, but it's got quite a purpley base. So those two are actually going to be shades that I am going to avoid within this palette, so that makes it a little bit clearer as to what I want to kind of go for in this look. Now I'm filming this ahead of my Pan in Every Eyeshadow Palette update video in April, so I think I have mentioned this in that video that I'm thinking about depotting or just removing some of these eyeshadows within this palette and also my Modern Renaissance palette, some of the shades that I know I'm not going to use. So like I say, I don't really like the pinks and purples within this palette, which is a little bit ironic because that's really why I bought this palette, because of the pinks and purples, and I don't end up using them. So I think I do want to remove some of these colours just to make it a little bit easier to know which ones do work for me in this palette. But having just swatched Volatile and Dazzling, I now know the shades that do and don't work for me, so I am going to be keeping and focusing on Base, Dreamer, Summer, Incense and Eccentric. All the others will go because they're either too cool toned for me, or if they are warm toned they are the wrong shade, so they're too dark of a warm shade for me. So Passion up here I think is a warm shade, but it's far too dark on me. So that leaves us with 5 eyeshadows that I'm going to use within this palette for today's look. So let's use Incense as a crease shade. And I am going to use the brush that comes with the ABH palettes. I really like these brushes. I think the flat packer is really good at packing on a base pigment, and then the blending brush is a really big fluffy brush, but it's not really large to the extent where you're blending eyeshadow all over your face. So I do really like this brush, and I do use these brushes the majority of times when I apply my makeup. So just going in with Incense, and I really like the quality of ABH eyeshadow palettes. They are really easy to blend, they're really well pigmented, they're quite buttery as well. They are a nice formulation to work with. You do get quite a bit of kickback though when you dip your brushes in, so just kind of be aware of that. Not so much in comparison to the Urban Decay eyeshadow palette. I've got the Naked Heat palette, and I find that that one I get a lot more kickback in comparison to ABH. Gonna run some of that same shade under my lower lash line. Right, the next shade I'm going to go for is my favourite within this palette. This is one of my focus shades in this palette that I'm trying to hit pan on, and it's the shade Summer, and I just think that this colour is so unbelievably beautiful. It's a really warm gold, and the shimmers in the Norvina palette are stunning. You've got to use your finger, don't use a brush because they do get really crumbly and you don't get as much of a colour payoff. But this kind of shade is my shade. I love me a gold brown eyeshadow look. And I've been using this shade a lot, and I don't really have much of a dip going on in this shade, so this one is going to take me a while to use up. Now I am filming this video like way in advance, so I might have actually, by the time this video goes up, have made much more of a dent in this shade, but as it currently stands it doesn't really look like I've used it that much, but I have, because it is my current favourite eyeshadow shade. So because we're only working with 5 eyeshadows, this is going to be a really quick and easy, simple eyeshadow. So the next one I'm going to go for is Eccentric, and I'm going to put some of that in the outer corner. And I really want to work on not so much using up, because I know using up eyeshadows takes a long time, but working through my eyeshadows this year and really kind of fine-tuning the ones I want to keep. Now that I'm getting older and I know what works for me now and what doesn't, and I'm kind of no longer creative with makeup, I don't feel like I need a load of colours and a load of different products within my collection, especially eyeshadows. So that's what inspired this Pan in Every Eyeshadow Palette challenge, to really kind of figure out the eyeshadows I want to keep, but also because I only had Pan in like one eyeshadow in my entire collection. I think I've got a total of like 108 eyeshadows, so my Pan percentage was atrocious. I'm going to run a little bit of Eccentric just above my crease line, just to give some of that definition back. And yeah, like I say, where I'm not really creative with eyeshadow anymore, the types of looks that I go for are very simple, and they're kind of a variation on this look, which is warm, bit of shimmer on the lid, and that's kind of it. I don't really get creative and experimental anymore with my makeup. Just want to build up Eccentric a little bit more in that outer V. And also put some of Eccentric under my lower lash line as well. I'm just going to tidy up a little bit just around the edges with a bit more of base. And then in the inner corner of my eye and under my brow bone, I'm going to use some of Dreamer. And I think I've just hit pan in it. This is an unintentional pan. This is one that wasn't included in my Pan in Every Eyeshadow Palette challenge. This is one that I just tended to dip into anyway, but because I use a really fine brush, I can really make a good dip in this palette. But yeah, I think I've hit pan in it. We'll have another look when I dip into it again for my other eye. But I think it might be a pan. This is really beautiful, brightening inner corner shade. Works lovely with Summer as well. Yeah, that's a pan. I'm not really sure if you can kind of see it from over there. Ooh, but that is a pan now. Yay! Hit pan in a shade from Norvina. Okay, that's the eyeshadow done, I think. I'm going to go for a bit of a brown eyeliner. I'll put some mascara on and do my lips, and I'll be right back. And then this is how it looks with a bit of brown liquid eyeliner, mascara, and then I just put a little bit of V Velvet Sands lip liner over the top of my lip gloss. So this is the final look. This is very much a me makeup look. This is how I usually wear those shades within the Norvina palette. Like I say, I don't touch the pinks and purples, but just to show you, if you do have this palette at home, you can create like a really nice, natural, neutral eyeshadow look. So if you have this palette, please let me know what are your favourite shades within the palette, what type of looks do you like to create with it, and hopefully it has provided you with a bit of inspiration to use your current makeup and not buy any new makeup. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you again very, very soon for my next video. Bye.